We're our third video of our topic talks about the Enlightenment and Revolutions that follow, and today we're going to talk about the actual Enlightenment Thinkers. And while there are many of them that we will not mention, the ones that are on the board are the ones where we'll focus our attention. Enlightenment Thinkers are definitely going to be challenging old ideas. Society and government are now being debated with the changes that we're already seeing are based on the reasoning changes that we've already seen in science and other ways to look at academics. Hobbes, let's talk about him for just a minute. In the coming out of the English Civil War, Thomas Hobbes, a Brit, is going to write the Leviathan, which is a name for a mythical large sea monster, and that's what he's going to see government needing to be. Something large, something that can be very controlling. He had seen the bad of people in the English Civil War and how people can manipulate situations when given power. He had seen Parliament really act outside the best interest of the population in that period when the Puritans and Cromwell had been in charge. So he said people and government are in a social contract. Society and government will agree to serve one another, and there will be a mutual agreement there. But it's really the whole society with the whole government. Submission was important, and there needed to be order provided by that government. The best government was the most powerful government, and absolute monarchies definitely fit that bill. Locke, on the other hand, a little bit later, but really still coming out of that mid-1600s, late 1600s time period, in his work, the Two Treaties of Government, or Two Treaties of Government, will hold the view that people can improve themselves and that changes are available in social, political, and even legal issues. And really, he's going to be an advocate for democracy, or a system that will encounter democracy, and that people need to have protected rights. So his view of the social contract may be a little bit different. He's going to say that everybody is born with these natural rights, that they are life, liberty or freedom, and then, of course, property. They're very much interconnected. This is going to be a favor of self-government. The idea that natural rights are debated. The debate here will shape Europe and beyond for a long time to come. Most democratic governments today will be recognizing the ideas of Locke's social contract theory. Moving on then to Voltaire and Montesquieu, a couple of Frenchmen, and many of the philosophers of this era were French, of the mid-1700s as it reaches this height. They will apply reason to life, much like Newton had applied reason to science. The concepts here are reason, nature, happiness now, progress forward, and liberty. Voltaire is going to gain great notoriety traveling around the courts of Europe with his ideas on tolerance. Toleration, something that we've talked about before when it came to empire building a lasting empire, is going to be the subject matter of Voltaire. He had seen not much tolerance when it came to the policies of absolute monarchs, and definitely seen that that's something necessary. Montesquieu is going to see danger in power and say really that power needs to be separated and given different responsibilities in an effective government. He's going to be the guy with the three branches idea, that there needs to be a legislative branch to make laws, an executive branch to enforce laws, and a judicial branch to interpret those laws. This system or arrangement is going to prevent one person or one part of the government becoming too powerful and thus dominating. This, I hope you can recognize, is something that the United States is going to employ when it creates its systems of government as well. So the driving forces of revolutionaries then in the Americas and Europe in the 17 and into the 1800s will use these ideas and many more to help create their government styles. This will be influential in the articulation of government as it begins to protect power during this democracy age. Moving on to Rousseau, who will write the social contract in 1762, we need to see that he was a champion of freedom. And he's going to be really a challenge to some of the other philosophers and their ideas, particularly on that of liberty. he's going to say that only freely formed governments can prosper. That unlike Hobbes, you can't really force people into this arrangement or this social contract. It has to be freely entered into. It's actually an agreement among free people to give up some liberty to be governed for the common good, meaning you can't go into an arrangement of government and know that you're going to get everything you want. You've got to give up some of your freedoms. The more free, and this is a debate that we still have today. How much freedom are you willing to give up to be safe, and is it worth the safety that you're giving up the freedom for? Government is from the consent of the governed, and when that consent is lost, a new government needs to be formed. This is going to be the drumbeat, as he's very influential in people like Thomas Jefferson, that when the government stops serving the people need to speak up and do something to install a new government. So his themes are easily found in the writings of many Americans, founding fathers, particularly Thomas Jefferson. We'll also see that freedom and equality, which are very much tied to his writings. Even as such, so these concepts are relative and changeable. We can definitely see some doublespeak in even Rousseau's own life, and the way he treated people around him, and the way he performed within his family and community. Definitely in people like Thomas Jefferson. What did equality mean when he wrote those words? It doesn't mean necessarily what it may mean to us today. So, how does all this function with these absolute monarchs that are in and about Europe in the 17 and 1800s? You run into this person who might have been called an enlightened despot. An enlightened despot, a despot is an absolute monarch, and much like Catherine the Great, who ruled Russia from 1762 to 1796, many of these rulers are going to understand and recognize that reforms are necessary, but going the full measure of what the Enlightenment was talking about would have been dangerous to their power and would have probably unseated them from the throne. Empires had been expanding under Catherine the Great, and she would definitely have been listening to some of the philosophes as they traveled around and engaging in those conversations. And while agreeing with the concept, she knew that if she implemented these policies, she would probably be unseated from power. So the enlightened despot was common in Europe. Reforms to improve society with Enlightenment ideas, though, would fall short as they would threaten the power source of the monarchy. All right, that's it.